Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Glad you could join us for this next episode of Seesaw.
All right, well, we're going to get started and talk to you about Seesaw today. I'm going to get my stuff set up. I'm going to share my screen with you. Just one moment. All right. So with Seesaw, it sounds like some preschool teachers have already been using it. If you haven't been using it, if you put down any questions you have, we'll be sure to answer as many as we can. But I'm going to go to the Seesaw and I'm going to log in. Always log in with Google, and that will be your best bet with logging in. Once you get here, I want to talk to you about how to create a class. So we're going to just start with the basics. And again, if you have questions, if you'll put them in the chat, we've got different digital coaches monitoring that, and then they can help let me know who has questions. Okay, so I'm going to create a new class up at the top. I'm in a lot of classes right now. We're just going to call this digital coach sample class. I'm going to do pre-K. You do have an option of importing from Google Classroom, but since this is our pre-K students, this isn't something that we've set up, so I'm not going to do that. So I'll just click my check mark. And now I've created my first class. Hopefully all of you that have tried that, you found success in creating your first class. Now I want to talk to you about a few options. I know many of you have technicians, and I've had requests that say, can we add technicians as co-teachers in the class so they can post on here as well? And the answer is yes. And how we're going to do this is we're going to come to this wrench on the right-hand side, click it, come under class settings to manage teachers, and then you can just send an email to that individual teacher. So I'm going to add Katie as a
Heather, I'm going to
co-teacher.
interrupt you. Sorry for a
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Someone says all they're seeing is a black screen, so I'm going to check with everyone else.
Oh, good
Are
to
people
know.
seeing the screen or not?
I can see her screen.
See the screen.
I can see it. All right. There's just a few people that can't. All right.
Should I keep going?
Yeah, because it's recorded, so
Okay.
yep, you're good.
So I'm going to thank you for interrupting and asking that question. I'm going to add Katie as a co-teacher, and what's going to happen is on Katie's end, she'll receive an email and she'll have to click the link and then go and log in with Google, and then it will say, do you want to join this class, which is our digital coach sample class, and she'll hit join, and then she'll become a co-teacher. And the advantage for this is for your technicians, or if you want to collaborate with other preschool teachers, is it's a way that you can post to each other's class and see, or you could even be added onto each other's. If you had a preschool friend that you also taught preschool, you could be in each other's class so you could see kind of the activities the other person is doing. And it's really easy so if I come up here to the left hand corner, you can see these are all classes that I'm teachers in that I've just asked to be a part of so I could help them with different things. So it's not a big deal to be a part of multiple classes. So after you start your first class, if you want to add your technicians in, then the next question is, how do we want our students to log in? And Katie and I have been working on the different options for login, so I want to talk you through what those options are. The first option is, well, I'm actually going to take you to show you this part. So under the wrench, it's called student sign-in mode. So there's 3 different ways students can sign in. So the first is if you were in your regular preschool classroom and your students were sharing like an iPad or a Chromebook, you would do this shared device. and that means that multiple kids can get on the same device and work in the same class. But since we're doing an at-home learning, we're either going to give them a class code because they're going to have their own device at home, or they're going to log in with Google. There's advantages to both ways. I have a preschool student right now at East Meadows, and we actually set her up with her class to log in with the class code, and that's worked out really well for us. But we did notice recently that preschool students do have an email address, and they do have a password, the ABC lunch number. It worked. Is Jen trying to talk? I'm getting... Sorry, I keep seeing Jen's name pop up, but I'm not getting anything in. Jen, I'm so sorry if you're trying to talk. Can you type in a note on the chat and let us know what's going on?
Yeah, let us know, Jen.
Yes.
And a note to everyone else, I just got news that some video feed has just stopped. So a reminder to everyone, if you will turn off your video and your microphone, your video and microphone, and that will hopefully help with the bandwidth going through. If you need a question, go ahead and unmute or type it in the chat to ask the question. Probably type it in the chat, and if we need more clarification, I'll ask you to unmute.
Okay, I just noticed a question come through when I was trying to see if Jen had typed it in, and I saw a few of you say, is it okay if the parents use their email to sign in? And that's going to be just fine. The only downside to that is in the future, if we did go back to school and you wanted to continue with using Seesaw in your classroom the rest of the year, their account would be linked to the parents, but there's a way we could fix that. So that's fine. If parents signed in and that's going to be the easiest, that is completely fine, and I wouldn't worry about that if that's how you set it up. Okay, so these are your three options for signing up. The two that we're going to focus on is the one-to-one devices or the email. So let's talk about adding students. Seesaw is pretty user-friendly. At the bottom, it has an add student button. When you click that, you have the two options come up. It says, okay, do you want them to sign in with an email address, or do you not want them to sign up with an email address? So let me tell you the difference between this one. If they sign up with an email address, it gives them a code that they can use for 1 week. I think it's 7 days that the code is valid, but I also believe there's a QR code that comes with it, and that QR code is valid forever. And once they sign in with Google, then then it will add their student. It will populate the student's name into your class, and you won't have to do that. The parent just logging in will create that student's name in your class. If you choose to not log in with Google, which is very common for a lot of the preschool teachers, it gives them a class code, and that class code is only good for 1 hour. But along with that is a QR code. And so when my daughter's class, when her teacher emailed the class code to me, I was just past the hour mark and it didn't work, but it had a QR code. So all I did was scan the QR code and I got in, and then I just chose my student's name. So if you choose to not sign in with Google, so we're going to click no, it's going to ask me, are you on shared devices or one-to-one? And we're going to say one-to-one because students will be doing this at home. And then I can just paste in my class, my students. So I could add in all my students right here. And then once I'm done, I can click my check mark. And so then it will give me this directions. And what I like about this is it gives the parents it tells the parents exactly how to get on and the code they'll use. But if you notice, this code is only good for 1 hour and will expire, but this QR code never expires. So I tested this on my daughter's account. I signed out of the iPad, and when I signed back in, I just pulled up the QR code in the email from our teacher. I scanned it, and we got right into Seesaw. So you can choose whichever way works for you. And then there's a print student sign-in poster. I would just probably highlight this and then send this in an email to your parents if this is how you sign in. But what I want to show you next is Katie and I discovered something when we were talking. Katie had been using these Get Home Learning codes. So if you've never had your students sign in and this is the very first time you just created your class, I would suggest coming at the top, not coming to the ad right here, but coming at the top, and you can come here after, and I think you had to add in those students, but I can come in here to our digital coach sample and go to print codes, and this will show up. And what it will do is it's going to give an individualized code for your students, and it's good for, I believe it was 90 days. Yeah. So what's great about this is, like Charles, so what I can do is to Charles's parents, I could highlight this. Oh, can we not highlight it? Let's see if it will work. I don't know if it's going to pick up everything. Okay. What you could do is you could highlight this, send it to the parents. There was even an option that said download it. So you might have to download it and then email that to the parents. And if you get stuck on this and getting this information out to parents, we can help you find an easy way to do that. But you can take this information, email it out to parents, and then this is good for Charles for 90 days. So he just needs this code, and he'll type that in. Really, once they type it in once, they're good for the most part, but I've seen a few emails from you guys saying, hey, they got logged out and now they can't get back in because the code's not valid. So one option is they can always scan the QR code, but if they have the home learning codes, then this is something they'll be able to use till the end of June. So that will get us through the school year. So as long as each parent had access to this, I don't know if there's a way we could print this out and you could get it to your parents, but this is something that they could have with their device. So if they ever got kicked out, they can get back in. I had another preschool teacher email me, I think yesterday. Actually, it might have even been today, and said, hey, I don't have the code anymore. And usually I would have recommended, I'm going to come back to this screen, just coming down here to the add student and getting that new code here. But since we've discovered this get home learning code, I would definitely just come here and get that home learning code from there and send that out. Does anyone have any questions on that? You can unmute yourself if you do.
There was a question, Heather, about adding more than 2 teachers. Can you add more than 2 teachers to your class?
Oh, yes. So the fastest way I found to add a second teacher, so if I come here, when you come to manage teachers, on the free account, it's only going to let you do 2, and it will say that. But there is a way to get the premium trial, and I think the best way is you come here to, it's when we add an activity, there's a button that will say schedule. And when we hit the schedule button, it will say, oh, this is a premium feature. Do you want to add it for 90 days? And you can click yes there. But that might be something I think I'll have. Katie, are you on right now? Were you able to get in? Katie,
Yes, I'm on.
okay. Katie, I wonder if that's something that would make sense for you to show because you're already going to be in the activity instead of it will make more sense. So I'm going to have Katie show that when she shows an activity. Was there any other questions that came through, guys?
I have a quick question. This is
Yeah.
Sherry Heelis. So you said that students can only stay on for about 7 weeks. What about all the activities that we upload? Will they stay there indefinitely?
Oh, that's a good question. So the kids won't get kicked off. They're going to be in your class. It's what these codes are saying is if a kid had to scan the code every time. So like my preschool student, if I had a kindergartner at home and we are constantly signing in, signing out, then that code would be valid if they ever had to rescan it for some reason. It's valid for 90 days. But those kids are in your class, and the parents that signed in with Google, once they've signed in, every time they sign in with Google, they're going to be connected. They won't ever be kicked out of your class unless you remove them. So then all these activities you create, they will be within your account. And when Katie shows you her activities, you'll see several under hers. They're going to stay with you. So any of the activities you're making now won't be wasted. There's stuff you could continue to use next year, even in your regular preschool class.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Heather,
Any other? Yeah.
there's a question here from Karma. It says, I gave my parents individual codes, but some are saying that the 90-day code has quit working for them. I've had
Really?
to generate them a new code, but they say a parent can have up to 50 codes. I'm not sure about that.
Interesting. Well then, Dixie, I wonder if they are having problems, come here to the add student and grab the code right here and send them that one if that's happening. I haven't heard, I've actually just started using the get home learning codes, so I haven't had any heard that happening, but if it is, there's always two ways we can get codes from either the get home learning code or down here student, and they're different codes. So maybe try that and see if that helps. But let us know if that continues to be a problem so we can research that more, because that is something I hadn't heard.
I have a question,
Yeah.
Dixie. Okay,
Hey.
I've got parents that have more than one child that's on Seesaw,
Uh-huh.
and so they're going back and forth. And once she's gone back and forth, when he comes onto the preschool one, it logs in as her other student as being in my class and not my actual student.
Oh.
So
Are they
it's not
using a
changing
shared,
kids for her.
so are they using a shared iPad?
Yes.
You know, I'm not sure on that one what's going to be the best option.
Do you know if they logged in with the parents' email?
Oh,
No,
that's a
because I
good.
sent them all the emails for the kids and the passwords and everything at the very beginning. So they were logging in underneath that child and stuff. So right now I just told her just to leave it alone, but it shows up as her daughter's name, not her son's name doing the work
So
and stuff.
Dixie, on your end, if you were to go to this wrench and you were to go down to manage students, have you checked to see if the student's name, your preschool student's name, is on there with the correct email address? Have you looked at this at all?
It is on there. Right now I'm on my iPad
You're
watching
okay, yeah.
so that I could be on my computer doing it, but Seesaw won't let me log in on my computer for some reason, so I can't follow along on my computer right now.
Okay. That's interesting. The other option is, Dixie, would it be possible to get another device from the school that either the kindergarten student or the preschool student could use at home? Get a Chromebook?
I could check with the school, but I knew they were limited and they were only giving out so many and they weren't giving any out to preschool students.
What school you at?
I'm at Reese Elementary.
At Reese. I wonder if we could get a device for that kindergarten student. Miles is at that school. Maybe he could look into that too.
Okay, I
Can
could
I
check
ask a
with.
question related to this?
Yes.
Sorry, this is Sarah at Art City. Does it matter if it's showing up as the sibling's name as long as the other student is doing the work? I've just told parents to toggle between the classes. So just like you showed us that you have several different classes, rather than parents having to switch in and out of accounts, they just switch, they use one account and have a different child to do it. So I just make note of the sibling's name and I know it's the specific student. It's made it a lot easier for parents where I have multiple students in multiple grades for them rather than having multiple devices or accounts.
Sarah, that's a great suggestion. Dixie, is that something that would work?
See, and that's what I told the mom to do. And I could tell it's a child because some of the things that he's doing, she's posted videos of him doing it and stuff. So I know it's him doing it and not the other child doing the work.
That's good to know. I didn't realize that was happening. So I appreciate Dixie and Sarah for sharing and giving us suggestions, because I think that's an issue that a lot of us are going to face, especially with having a preschool student and there's a chance that they have a kindergartner first or second grade sibling. So thank you.
Along that note as well, I noticed that if I changed the name, because I went in and I was like, oh, this is the wrong name originally. I changed the name and it changed it for their other child's class.
Oh,
so you don't want to change the name there. That's why I just made note of the sibling's name so that I know it's them. And I can tell it's the work, like Dixie was saying, because those parents are really kind of I'm noticing are wanting to be engaged and are monitoring that.
Oh, good.
So.
So Sarah, it's working well, and you feel like that's a great suggestion that other preschool teachers could do?
Yeah, I really do. So I even have parents that have siblings or like twins in my classroom, and it was too much for parents to have to even switch in between accounts for the two of them. And so they're just in the same, and they're uploading different pictures per student.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, thank you. Any other questions with the login? All right, well, we're gonna keep writing your questions, and my team will let us know what we can answer. I'm gonna let Katie talk to you about some activities for a few minutes, and then we'll do some more questions. Katie, are you in?
Yes, so can you stop sharing your screen
Yep.
and I can share
Yep.
mine? Thank you. So it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Is there a way that we can fix that?
Greg can fix that. Greg
Unless
has
we
to
change
fix
the
that.
host to be Heather.
Greg turned me to be the host. Greg, can you fix that?
Yes, it says Greg is the host now.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Greg? Because if he's not there, then it's going to be, he has to change one of the settings to allow it to
I
go
got
through.
it's all fixed.
Okay.
Thanks, bro.
Okay.
All fixed, and Katie's now the host.
All right. Will Heather be able to share hers back in a sec?
Yes.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I saw that Homer
So-
Simpson for just a second. Yep.
Right here, you have a green plus button. This is how we're going to add activity and assign activities to our students. So you'll click on that and then assign activity. Now we can go to, sorry, this little Zoom thing's in the way, the community, and we can find lessons. So you can search preschool lessons and find what you want. Let's say I like this one. I can click on it. I can like it and it'll save it into my library. After I've clicked on it, over here, I will click on Assign. Now I will select the class I want it to go to. And then some more options that I have, I can edit specific students, folders, and skills. So when I click on that, I see my list of students. Let's say I just want it to go to one student. I can click on the top check mark and just assign it to one student. Or if I only don't want it to go to that student, I can click like that. The sample student is nice because you can practice as you can put it in a folder, and this is just a folder where when the students are done, it will go into this folder for them. It's not going to change how it shows up initially for the student. And this is about the skills. We haven't spent a lot of time on figuring out how to do the skills. This is a premium feature. So we'll share a video with you that will explain the skills if you want to do that and watch that video. So when I've done all those things, I'm going to click the green check. And then I can also schedule. And Heather was talking about earlier how you can get that free trial. And the easiest way that I found to get the free trial is when you hit schedule the first time, it'll pop up that you can start the trial. So you can either assign immediately, or I can assign at a specific date, change the date of when I want it to go out, change the time. So maybe you want all the activities to go out at 8:00 a.m. and then it'll go out in the morning. So I'll assign it. And then I can view it in my class and it's right there. Right here are the different icons, and we'll show you how to get some of those icons in a second. I'm going to go back to add an activity. And here are the ones that I've liked or I've added to my library. When I'm assigning, or when I click on it, I can also go down to these 3 dots and I can copy and edit activity. So let's say I like most of the activity, but I want to change anything about it. That's how I can do it right here. I can also create an activity and I can share it, or I can find an activity and share it. Here's how you would share the activity. Those 3 little dots, share activity, and then get activity link, and you can hit copy. We have on our Nebo at-home learning page this Seesaw page, and at the top there's collaborative resources. People are putting their links to be created more. We created a tab for preschool teachers, so you can go and find them and add them. So let's say I like this activity. I can click on it, open the link. I can look at it, and then I can save activity. And now after I've saved it, it should now be in my library. Let's see if that worked. We've also heard that someone else told us that if you have a lot of tabs open, sometimes it does not work as well. So let me try that one more time.
That's true, Katie, especially if they're all Seesaw tabs, then it might not save your activity.
And I might have tabs open elsewhere, but it'll show up in your library and then you can assign it from there. So another thing you can do is create your own activity. So when I click on create new activity, I would have to give it a title, example, and then you can type your instructions out. And on our at-home learning page, we have a link to the icon shortcuts. And this is how you would get those icons to appear. So let's say I want to say, okay, click on this button first, then this, then this. You can add the microphone by putting in that code. So I'm going to go to my Seesaw activity and add this, and it'll stay like this right now, but when you go and save your activity, that will turn into the microphone picture. You can also read the instructions. Right here, you can add multimedia instructions or examples. So this would be things that your students aren't changing. So this would be like a video for them to watch, a picture for them to look at. You could make a video for them. You can upload something. Down here is where you create the student template. So as you're looking at activities, you'll see that sometimes they have something in the background and some images for them to move. This is how you would create that activity. So when you click right here, you have some different options. You can upload something from your Google Drive or a PDF, and whatever you're uploading is just going to become the background. So if you create something or you have a slideshow and there's movable pieces, they will not be able to move them once you upload it. Everything will be in the background. So you might just want to upload the background, and once you're in Seesaw, add those movable parts. So I'm going to go to drawings, and I'm going to really quickly show you a couple things. And I have a few videos, and that we can post them in the chat. Maybe someone will do that, and you can watch how to create different activities. So you can add a shape. Let's say we're just doing a sort. So here's a line. Anything you don't want the students to move, you will lock. I'm going to add another line, rotate, and lock. And then I can put A. I can make this smaller. A over here, and then lock this, and then B over here, put it where I want it, and then lock it. And then you can go and you can find some pictures. I'm just gonna grab a random one, and then I paste it in. And I could put them off to the side, down on the bottom, and then students will be able to move it. So the important thing here is that you don't lock it because you want them to be able to move it. And you'll want them to click on the finger to be able to move things. If you want them to do a sort or drag and drop, maybe you have the different letters and they're dragging a picture to match each one. You can do something like that. Let me see. So go back to Seesaw. Yeah, I think, does anyone have any questions about adding an activity or creating an activity?
So you go, if you want to import something from somewhere else, you go to upload there where you're doing the add an activity. Is that correct?
So if you're wanting to upload like something you've already created or a worksheet,
well, for instance, we're getting lots of emails from other preschool teachers that show these fun things. And so if I want to import that something in either from YouTube or from something another teacher has sent me, what's the easiest way to do that?
So are you talking about like they've already created the activity or they've just have pieces of activities?
Well, mostly what I'm seeing are worksheets, but I think there's probably other things too. And then there's things that are on YouTube or links. And I think you just covered the link thing, but I'll have to go back and look at that a little more carefully.
Okay. So right here, if it's a worksheet, you can add, I'm going to go to my drive like I've saved something. Let's see what we have. Select from computer. So here's a PDF from Teachers Pay Teachers. It was a free something I just downloaded. I'm going to open it. And now it's made 2 different slides for me. And now here I'm going to go ahead and add the pieces that I want them to sort. So I just added it and now it's kind of my background image from that PDF. And in Seesaw, I will add the pieces I want them to move.
Katie?
Yes.
I tried doing that before with like inserting a picture like that, but then I couldn't get the pictures to add in. How do you add the pictures for them to sort once you've uploaded?
So I just went to Google, typed in a cheetah, and right-click. Sometimes you can look for images, whatever you want. I right-clicked on the image, I did copy image, and then back into Seesaw, I did Control V to paste it, and then I moved it off to the side.
Oh, can I make a quick comment in here? Sometimes when you're copying from the internet, you have to use the keyboard shortcuts. You can't do a right click and paste sometimes. So the Control C to copy and Control V is really important to know. If you're on a Mac, it'd be the Command C, Command V.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I'll have to go with it for a while. Thanks.
You can also upload pictures too. So if you have something saved, you could upload a picture as well. So if you had the pictures saved, you can upload them as well.
Katie?
Yes.
How did you mark which tool the kids are using so that they're not just picking on any tool down there? Can you mark that only one tool is being used and not any of the others? Or are they always going to be available?
They're always going to be available. So you just need to, in your instructions, tell the students which one to use. And when your students are working on an assignment, they can also view the instructions up here. So at any point during the assignment, they can click back up here and view the instructions. But you will need to tell them to use this one instead of like the drawing tool because they are always available. And that's another thing to note is sometimes they get in the way. So if you're making your own resource, you probably don't want to make something that goes all the way down to the bottom so that these tools aren't in their way. And another cool thing is you could have your students explain their thinking very easily. So when they're done, you can have them click on the microphone and explain their thinking. And that's a cool feature in Seesaw as well.
If you've done the instructions where they're voiced out on there, will that show up at the top of the screen as well, or will it just be the written part of the instructions?
Let's go ahead and check that. So I'm going to make this. Does anyone know the answer to that?
I'm not sure on that one. I was just going to look as well.
So if I just say.
Repeat the question, please.
Yeah.
So if I'm recording instructions right now, then when I go ahead and hit save, assign that Google Class. So play the instructions right here. When they go to add their response, view instructions, they can play the instructions again. Right here.
But Katie, I think she was asking at the top if, oh, is that where it was? You can
So I
see
hit
it.
view
Okay,
instructions, and
I
then it
see.
opened
Yep.
the option to play them
Yep,
again.
it did work. Perfect.
Thank you.
But it may be helpful to maybe make a little tutorial for your students, maybe the first couple times. Okay, if you need to see the instructions again, like, and give them an example.
That's a good suggestion since a lot of them won't be reading
Yeah,
view
that's a good.
instructions.
So if you
Because
forget
a lot
what to
of mine
do,
I've
click
been
on this
doing
button.
by microphone, where I've been recording the instructions because my kids can't read yet. And so.
And that's why it's also nice that there's the pictures in the instructions too. So I didn't end up putting any pictures, but then they can kind of see the buttons that they're supposed to be clicking to. So also someone talked about like adding a link. So if you're creating something that just has a link, Heather, do you want to talk about an option for that?
If they're just doing a link.
If they're just doing a link, like you're linking out to Imagine Learning,
yeah.
or just want them to watch the video.
So what Katie and I were talking about is a few teachers have, and this is actually not just preschool, I'm getting this from up to second grade teachers as well, is they're saying we have something that's just a link and nothing's going to, let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, so they're saying, is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Dixie. Sometimes you're going to have something like a video that there's no response needed, right? Like you're going to make an activity, and in the activity section, it's going to show up what the activity is in here, but the students don't need to do anything with it. They're just going to watch the video. And so what happens is in this activity section, I'm going to go back to it. If I assign this to a student, and he's just watching a video like on this one, if he doesn't add a response, the activity stays in the activity section. So you either have to go back as the teacher at the end of the week and kind of delete that activity so it goes off the kid's screen, or you have to tell parents to add a response. Well, it's not hard to add a response. The kids click it, but then they have all these options, and then parents might ask, well, what kind of response do they need to add? And then you've got to explain they can take a picture, they could do the drawing and do a check mark, and it's just one more thing to add. Well, Katie and I were collaborating on this yesterday, and we had the idea of this. If when you created an activity, so I'm just going to create a sample one, and we're just going to call it sample. Here's my directions. Then if you come to this add template for student responses in Google Slides, I just made a Google slide that says I'm done. So I'm going to go pull that. I'm going to upload that. It's on my computer. Let me go back out of here. I think it's this one. And what this will do is it's just a page that says I'm done. So when I add this in the activity, and I could add my video, I could add my YouTube link in here as well. Then I'm going to hit save. So then on the student end of it, what happens is they go watch that video, but then all they have to do is click add a response, and it will open up this page for them, and then they could use their mouse or their finger to just draw like a check mark or like an X and hit submit, and then that way you know it's done, and then that activity is not just sitting in the activity anymore because it was just a video. It now will, I'm going to jump out of here, it will now leave the activity section and go to the journal. So that might be helpful. I know with my own preschool student, there's been some things that haven't required a response, but I've had to show her just to click add a response, and then I just will have her like take a picture of herself. But this could just make it once a little bit easier, I think, for the students. Has anyone ran into that? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say like an activity that doesn't require a response?
I've
And
had that same thing.
Sarah, what have you done? Like,
I've just told the parents to write a note that says done or send me a picture.
okay. So perfect. So that's an easy solution too. So either of those I think would work. I just feel like kids, if they don't do anything with the activity, it stays in the activity and it looks like they have work, but they've really completed it. So we do want to teach them to add some sort of response. I've had another teacher say, is there a way to turn that feature off? But there's, as far as I know, there's not. So we just need to train them to do something with the response so it clears it from their activities. The other thing I want to I just thought of as Katie was talking was the difference between activities and journal. So when I taught second grade, I used the journal when we were in class. Like I would say, okay, guys, choose one piece of work, take a picture of it and turn it into the journal. But since you're not at school with your students, you're creating all these activities instead. But the journal is still something that could be useful. So I can come to the journal section, and if I wanted to come here to the ad, there's post student work. I can actually create a personalized message to a certain student. So I could come here and I could make a video. I could come here and make my video. I could record it. Once I'm done, I could tell this student, hey, I miss you. I hope things are going well. And I can stop it, click done. And then it will say, who do you want, after I click this check mark, it will say, who do you want to post it to? So you could post it to all your students, but this is a way you could post it to just one student. And then that kid will just see that special message from you. So I really like this feature if you want to not do an activity, but connect with your students. Your students can also do this back to you. So my preschooler loves getting on Seesaw, and she comes to the add button and she kind of just chooses her own activity. It won't say post student work, but it will just say activity for her, and she'll choose something, she'll post it and send it to her teacher, and it's just something that she's sending individually. So if you haven't used the journal, try it and send some things to your students, because it really is a fun way to connect with them outside the activity.
Could you also send individual messages through the inbox?
Oh, can you? I don't ever do that.
I think you can.
So if we
so the activities tab is where your activities are going to show up. And once your students complete an activity, it will then move to their journal. And unfortunately, the tab they're taken to, that's different for us now that we're doing it at home, is it takes them to their journal page. So you have to tell your students to click on the activities tab to find the activities that you're assigning them.
So this looks like, Katie, is a way I could send a message to students. I haven't done it that way, but that's another great solution. Katie, do you know if the messages show up in their journal or does it show up in their inbox?
I think it'll show up in the inbox, but when you send them a message in their journal, will it pop up that they get something in their journal?
Yeah, it shows up in their journal.
But if they're doing a ton of activities, are they going to be able to find that very easily?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Just based on how we're using it, and we're using it different than it would be used when we're in the classroom.
That's good. I hadn't thought of that. So
because I have a notification in my inbox and it shows up red that I have something there. So it kind of indicates that I should click there.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's good to know. Those are some suggestions you can try. Let's move on and talk about, I do want to bring up one point. We got an email that said you guys were interested in learning about the skills section. This is not an area that I've spent a lot of time with, and Katie and I were talking before we met with you guys today on this. And the thing with the skills area, is it looked like it had a lot of potential, because I think essentially what it does is you can take a student work, and if you tag a certain skill to it, then you can kind of give them a rating on how well they did on that skill, which can be super helpful. But it is a premium feature, and so after this 90 days, it's a feature we're not going to have next year. So I don't know how much time we want to spend building out the skills if it's not something you're going to continue to pay for in the future. But if it is something you're interested in, I found a really good video. It was about 20 minutes long, but it was one of the Seesaw ambassadors, or one of their, it wasn't even an ambassador, it was one of their main people in their community, made a really good tips page to setting up skills. So we'll post that video for anyone that's interested in that. But let's open this up to questions, and Katie's going to jump on too, and we'll answer any questions you guys have.
Sarah just asked if we could show how to send an individual message.
Okay, let's try it. So if I come here to inbox and messages, private messages. No, we don't want that. Katie, I have not done this. Do you want to talk us through it?
Let's see. Let me pull it up.
Here, I'll stop sharing.
I don't know that I necessarily know how to do it, but we could try.
Okay, it's not something I've ever done.
So, share my screen. So when I'm in the inbox, send student announcement, send to, so I can send it to all students.
Okay.
Can we send it to select students? Let's see. Maybe you can't. Here you can add an attachment, and here's how you can make a video. Let's go back. So maybe you can only make student or family announcements. Maybe you can't send it to just one student.
That's what I'm thinking too, and it looks like that's what Sarah thought too. So the journal still might be a good option. I know my daughter loves using the journal and sending things that she's doing that are beyond what's being asked in preschool to her teacher, and she loves when her teacher sends a video to her that's personalized. So maybe that's something you might want to try out.
Something else you might want to, I'm going to show you, is how to approve posts. So down here it says that I have 5 unapproved posts. So I'm going to hit review, and I can look at the different ones. So I can look at Greg's response to this. And something else that I can do is I can send back, and let's see, you can add a comment. So you can even add a voice comment, and then you can send it back to them, and then they can hear your response. And I think that shows up in the inbox.
Why are some of the assignments asking for approval and some aren't?
So all assignments, if that's how you have it set up, will ask for approval. Once your students have completed it, you will get their completed document or their completed assignment to approve.
Quick question.
Where is that at where you approve it? Because I'm just
this showed up on the bottom of my page. It said like unapproved items, and now I was taken to this tab where it has all their unapproved items.
And I just saw Sarah's question come through, that if we send it back, doesn't that mean that there's something we want to fix?
Yes.
And I think so. The answer is yes, Sarah. It's something that you want them to look at again.
So do things show up in the journal if we don't approve them, or is that just after we've approved them?
I think it does show up in the kids' journal. It just says the teacher hasn't approved it yet.
Okay.
So students, if it hasn't been approved, they can go in and make changes. They could go in and edit it because it hasn't been approved yet.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
So they could look at it and say, oh, it hasn't been approved. Oh, I made a mistake. Let me open up and edit my assignment because the teacher hasn't approved it yet.
And
Okay.
Sarah just said something about, it went down in the chat, about if you want to just make a comment to the students instead of sending it back. That's a way that you could give them a voiced comment, but you don't need to send it back. Is that correct, Sarah? Is that what you were saying? Yes. Okay.
So
Thank
I
you.
really like
This is Pam. I think also that approved, does that have something to do if you've opened up the journal view for
Okay.
other people to see it? So it's approved for others to see?
But Pam, just throwing this out there, I think even if you can't see others, you still have to approve it. Has anyone else seen that? That if you set up your class that only though they can't see each other's responses, do you still have to approve? I thought the answer was yes, but maybe I'm wrong.
There's a setting that makes it so you don't have to approve. I can't remember exactly where it is now, but there is a setting that you can either click yes or no on requiring an approval.
But you always have to, they always require approval, even if it's not set up that they can see each other's, I think, as well.
So in the
I
settings,
don't. My kids can post without my approval.
Well, they post without the approval. I like the feedback feature because it's so easy to write there a comment to the parent, ask a question to them. But if a child puts several different posts on in a session, I like to give audio feedback on at least one to just give reinforcement and so they hear my voice. And I just really like that feedback feature.
so you could turn it off that new items don't require approval, but then again, like you're not going to see when they're completing activities, and that helps you to know when they've completed it to go and look at it, rather than having to go through each student's journal and see what they've done since the last time you've looked at it.
I've got a question. This is Dixie.
Yes.
Okay, my question was, what I was trying to say is some of my assignments that I'm doing, and I thought I'm doing them all the same way, some come back as they're needing approval and some don't. So is there something that I'm doing wrong when I'm doing the assignments or marking something that's showing that those are needing approval and others aren't?
I don't know, because it looks like it's an overall setting, not an individual setting. I haven't ever seen it in the actual like assignment part. I've only seen it in this like overall class settings. So I don't know.
I have a comment.
Causing that to be different.
It might be Dixie, because if you don't have them responding to that assignment, then there'll be no notification for you or anything to approve. I've seen that in some teachers' classrooms where they just say, hey, go on iReady and do this math or reading assignment, and they don't say do something to show that you're done, which means then the teacher doesn't know that they've actually completed the assignment, and there's no alert for you.
Okay, so it's automatically putting it in there as needing approval because I'm not marking that they've got to do something back.
Right, so make sure that you put something in your assignment or that activity to say, hey, when you completed this, go on and make me a drawing of a star, or write the word done. You can have the word done there. They can just copy it, something like that, whatever you want for preschool.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Another thing, in this journal section, you'll see student work, and make sure not to click on these three little dots and change this to edit people unless you want all of your students to see it and to see all of your students' names. So if you're in the journal and you click on those three dots and you hit edit people, and let me try that one more time. Edit people, this will put it in every student's journal, but it will also put all of the students' names in their journal too. And where some of your students have IEPs and stuff like that, if I were to click this, they could then see every student's name.
Can you show that again?
Yes. So when you're assigning an assignment, you can select certain students, or you can select all students. Your journal, you edit someone's work, and then you hit edit people and you select them all. That will be putting it in all students' journals, and it'll also have all students' names.
So if you're wanting all the students to do that activity, you have to
do it here. Assign it.
On all the kids' names?
This is just in the journal, so it would be someone's completed work. You're not going to want to do that. You'll want to go with the add, assign activity, and then assign them an activity through here. Don't go into the journal into someone's work and then edit people and add everyone to it unless you want it to show up in every student's journal.
Trisha had another question that I have as well. If we archive activities at the end of the week, does that remove the activities from the student's to-do list?
Heather, do you know the answer to that?
I think it would. I mean, but that's just me thinking about it, because when I've tested it with other teachers, that's why we've archived the activity, so that it clears it from their list because they didn't do a response to it.
And how do you archive an activity?
You just click on the 3 dots right there. So that says delete because I think no one's done it, but
Okay.
if a student has done it, the activity, I really think it changes to archive. But I could be wrong on that.
Is Greg or one of us part of that classroom? We could test it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Someone's done one of them. 2 responses right here. So now
Yes.
it's archive.
Yes.
So there you go. So if someone has done it, you archive it. If no one's done it, you just delete it.
Uh-huh. And that student should still have their response that they did in their journal, even if you archive that activity. I don't think it will take away their response. Hey, Katie, did we show them
I'll go check on that since you deleted one that I was in.
Okay. Well, he checks on that. Katie, did we show them, I don't think we did, on the wrench, how to change it so that they don't see each other's work? I think that's an important setting that I forgot to show them.
So right here, so I clicked on the wrench class settings, scroll down to students. Students can see each other's work, and you can turn that on or off. If you do the at-home learning codes and it's one-to-one, they will not see each other's work. But if you have the Google sign in, then they can see each other's work unless you turn it off right here. From what we've seen.
Katie,
so just check on that.
It was the habitat assignment that you archived, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yep, it's still in my journal.
Okay.
How did you archive the assignments?
So if someone's done it, so I had to find one where someone had responded. Let's see if I have any more. Here we go. Someone responded. Now I click on these 3 dots, and then it says archive activity. And so that means if someone else has not done it yet, like this one person hasn't responded, I think that it will be taken out of their activities tab. So now it won't show up as having all these activities they haven't completed. But if someone has done it, it will still be in their journal.
So it'll archive it for all the kids,
Mm-hmm.
not just you.
Yes.
But that's a good thing to do, is if you posted a video and kids didn't respond, you might want to archive it so it doesn't keep staying in their activities for a long time.
This is Sherry Helis. And so if you do an activity, you had the responses that you expect and you archive it, then are you still able to go back to that activity? Say you wanted to use that activity again the following year, where does it archive it and how do you access that?
So all your activities that you like or you will be in your activity library. So even though I take it out of my activities tab, all of the activities are still over here in my library.
Thank you.
And you can take and organize these into add to collection. You can make a couple different collections. I don't know how many you can have on the free version. I think someone said 2. So maybe you could have a math one and a language arts one if you wanted to keep them a little bit more organized.
Sarah just said you can organize 10.
10 on the free one?
I don't know if that's free or not, but she just says you can organize 10.
Okay.
I think that is correct. I was looking at the difference between free and premium or free and plus today, and that seems right. You could have 10 activities. Or 10 organized, I mean.
Awesome.
When you archive them as well, does it take it off that journal, your main home screen where the journal is showing, so that that doesn't have so many activities on it?
So when you archive the activity, it will take it, yes, it will take it out, and then it shouldn't show up anymore. And Sarah also said yes. What other questions do you guys have?
Have we missed any questions? There was a point where a lot of people were chatting, so I don't know if we got to everyone's questions or not. So if we didn't answer one, please let us know.
I just wanted to let the teachers know in preschool that Wendy Pre let me know about that skills section, just because she said it would be a really great way to track progress as we have to do progress reports. So even though we can't use specific IEPs or say that we're using a specific goal, but you can assign activities that may address some of those IEPs. You just can't say that that's what it's specifically targeting. But that was a great way to track that so that you don't have to take separate data later, just as a heads up. So you may, for some of you, you may want to at least look at that section when you get more familiar and see if that's something you want to utilize rather than individual activities or doing other things that way.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Heather, do you see the two questions from Betty and Sarah?
What is the easiest way that people have found to take attendance?
Good question.
What I've done is help teachers with like their morning announcement that they've given to kids, have like that thing that Heather showed with done on it. So when they watch it, they mark that it's done and turn it in, and that's how you've got your attendance for those kids.
Yes, that's what I've seen too, Greg. They've done like a morning message, and then in that morning message, sometimes they've done like a checklist of these are the things you're going to do today. And then once that was turned in, that was the attendance. Does anyone else have any other ways they've done attendance?
This is a question. This is Sherry Healis, more than a comment on that. So what are we actually responsible? Where are we supposed to be keeping attendance? It's not on Aspire, I understand. So we're just keeping like a graph that shows, so for me, if my student has done several activities during the week and they're a 2-day student, then I'm saying that they're attending those days and that they're flexible when their parents are able to help them with those activities.
Yes, Sherry. So I'll speak to that because this is what we were talking about at staffing, is that attendance, you can do a morning message or whatever thing that way, but as long as there is a way for parents to respond to activities, that counts as an attendance. And we're not getting so specific as if they complete half the activities and they're a 4-day-a-week kid, that counts as 2 days. It's if parents are logging on that week and doing and completing any of the activities for that week, that counts as attendance for their entire week.
Right. I understand that, but
so you do not have to track. So you do not have to track attendance anywhere else. Let the system do it for you.
What we've been told is to contact your principal about the policy that they want for their how you're supposed to keep track of it on your own records and give it to them. Is talk to them about the policy for your own school and how they want to do it.
Okay,
that's great.
What other? I must admit, Greg, did I miss another question that we didn't answer?
Sarah was asking about using colors in the skills.
I can ask that question. This is kind of more directed for the special education end that Laura was talking to. So like if we have students working on colors or shapes, we could put that as the skill and then track it that way. Is that what you were saying, Laura?
Yeah, so you just can't say that it's on the student's IEP, but you can definitely assign specific skills to specific kids or specific activities to specific kids that target IEP goals, and then you just have a way of knowing
that it's
your own separate
specifically their goal, but it's not
or
saying that that's an IEP.
Or you can have a separate conversation with parents or through an email contact to say, I'm going to send you these assignments. This is how it's targeting IEP goals, but you just can't say that on Embrace or on Seesaw.
On the assignment,
yeah.
Okay. One other quick question. We should not input any attendance in Embrace then, is that correct?
No, you don't need to track it on Embrace, but find out if Lisa or any of your principals have a specific way, if it's through a Google Doc or something that they want you to turn in at the end of all of this. because I'd hate for you. I mean, you can go back, but everything's being recorded on here. So if there's a way that they want you to track it along the way, find out. I'm hearing a lot of principals are saying, we'll just let the system do its thing right now, and then we'll go back and figure it out later, is what I've been getting. But if there's a specific way your principal wants you to track it, I want you to do what they're asking you to do.
Okay.
All right.
May I ask one more quick question? Sorry.
Please.
This is Dixie. On my computer, I've been using Seesaw on it, but today when I go to log in, it will not let me log in. It's telling me the network or the firewall browser settings, or they're blocking it. So am I doing something wrong? Where in the past, I've not had a problem getting on it on my computer at school.
Dixie, what device are you using?
Is it a Chromebook?
I'm on my computer. I'm at school on the computer at school.
We know that a couple days ago, Seesaw sent a message out that they were having a couple issues. So I don't know if that's a residual effect from it. Thanks for letting us know. We'll look into that, see if there's still some issues, and maybe let Seesaw know as well.
One thing you can do is clear your browser cache.
That's a good idea.
That would clear everything up, and that way you can then close your browser down. So that would be in your settings. Clear the browser history and cache, and then open it back up, and it should work for you. I'll send you a video on how to do that.
Thank you, Charles.
Ronette, your question, tech support for District for Parents. There are some things, I know some schools and even us as coaches, we've been trying to put together a couple of things for the parents, but there is no actual device support for their devices. If it's a Chromebook issue that they've checked out from the school, they can bring it back in, check out a different one. But if it's for their own devices, there is no tech support for the parents at home, if that's what your question is. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate what you've got. Oh, we got another one.
Oh.
Spanish translation. I haven't seen it.
Pam, do you think that if they had the Google extension, what we've done with translating, if that would work?
Translate extension?
That's a good question. Let me try it on mine really quick. I thought, doesn't Seesaw have a Spanish? Let me look at
Miles, did you set something out about a Spanish? Was it just directions?
They have activities in Spanish.
And I know some of the schools have made Seesaw signing in instructions in Spanish, that if we need to find them, I'm sure there's a couple schools that already have the directions in Spanish. Or
yeah, all I'm seeing there is how to translate the instructions. Like if you put the instructions in there in English, it can translate the instructions into Spanish. No, actually, I've just seen the family invite letter. Let me try it really quick. I will turn on my translator. Google Translate. Turned it off because that's how I accidentally made my whole site change to Chinese the other day. Remember that?
Yeah, that was good times.
Okay.
While she's taking a quick second, 20 seconds to clear your browser data, press Control-Shift-Delete, and then you can change your time range to the last 2 weeks or whatever, or forever, and then press Clear Data. That will wipe off your browsing data, and that should help you out. Just be sure, don't delete your passwords. There's a few things you can go through and check.
So there's different Seesaw apps. Sarah asked a question. I think there's a family Seesaw app and a student Seesaw app. So that may be why they're not able to sign in one way versus the other.
On an iPad?
On an iPad.
Yeah, there's two. One's called Seesaw. I just downloaded it.
Seesaw Families, isn't it?
And the other one's called Seesaw Class. that a teacher or a student could use, and then Seesaw Family for parents.
Yep.
Ronette, that question, yes, you can. This account is yours forever. You might lose after 60 days, you'll lose the premium upgrade, but it's still your account. Okay. We're checking the Spanish translation. That's all we're waiting on now.
Yeah, I'm just checking it out right here, but
I like what Laura said, that she's hoping we'll be able to continue to use whatever, like any of this when we get back. And I think that's true. I really hope that you got whatever you're learning and trying, know that you can adapt this to use with your students next year. And it really is cool to connect with parents and show them like the things their students are doing in school, and then they can get online and see like their journal. It's a really powerful tool.
so most of the many teachers in the district have been using this before we got the premium version. So I know a few things that would be different with the regular version. If your school got the whole version together, the students' journals would carry on from year to year. So they could have a school journal, and then also the principal also has access to every teacher's journal. So it's kind of like a school site. So you can get a school license. So that's one thing. The other thing is the ability to add collaborating teachers. With the regular site, you just have one, and you can have up to 5. And also that skills thing. So anyway, those are a few things that you would lose access to, but a lot of teachers are still using that, the regular version, and without any problems.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Yeah.
If we have something that we want to post that is just available to kids whenever, we have been posting circle time videos with different music, and the parents want to be able to go back and see that. Can we just, is the only way to leave it in their assignment strand and have them hunt for it? Or is there a place to put something that they can just access?
Like a resource page?
Yes.
I need to share my screen because I have something exciting to show.
Okay.
Can't wait for this.
Is it all Spanish? It's Spanish. So the Google Translate extension does work for it.
Right. So it's not going to change anything you upload, of course, right? So it didn't change the frog titled froglet, but it did change all the directions. Probably wouldn't change the recording, but it has the date. So there you go. It changed the name. It changed the menu over here. So what I did, for anyone that's still watching, is Google Translate is a Chrome extension. It'll show up here in your Chrome bar. So if I went on this page, I just click Google Translate and go translate this page, and it opens up this bar, and then I can change the language I want it translated into. There's the original and there's the translation.
So that would
actually what would have to happen is you would have to show parents how to use that on their device. So this is showing me, like, if I'm looking at it, I can see it in Spanish. It's going to depend, like if a parent's looking at it, they would have to use that translation tool. Does that make sense? Because this doesn't, I don't
that,
think
Brittany, we'll get a video
translates
together
the view
for that.
for me on my computer. But if I went into one of my other classes, like if I went on another device and looked at sample student, pretty sure that would still
Brittany,
be.
they just need a Chrome browser.
So I could test it.
So coaches, that's on our to-do list, is to make a video for how to put on Google Translate into an extension and then use it.
Yeah.
Well, those instructions also need to be in Spanish as well.
Right.
So we might need to find someone to help.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I know a Spanish speaker who can do it.
Perfect.
I'll get Clint down at Taylor to do that for us. Cool. All right.
So someone just said, I've been told by some parents that using the Chromebook has been hard for drawing/writing activities. So another option is some of the writing things. You could have them write on a piece of paper and then hold it up to the camera and take a picture of it.
And Charles had said also just get a mouse that they could plug in and connect. That's a lot easier than the touchpad.
Yeah, a USB mouse will plug into a Chromebook. That's also a good idea. But we agree.
Okay.
Drawing with a trackpad's hard. has its limitations. So
hope this has been helpful for everybody. This will be on our website before the end of the workday today. So you can go back and look at it. The chat will be there as well. And hopefully it's been really good for everyone.
just a minute, let me answer to Sarah here.
If they need a mouse, check with their school. I'm sure they'd be happy to check out a mouse to the parent if they don't have one.
They may not have a lot. They may have to take them from the computer lab, so I'm not sure what the policy would be there. It's not like they have a lot of extra, mice hanging around. So that, I'm not going to speak for a school, but that would be